Guys, here's a friendly reminder. Hackers are getting more sophisticated each year, and if you're not careful, they will make your life miserable. Are you doing everything you can to protect yourself online? I've been a NordVPN customer long before they were a show sponsor. Their software allows me to safely browse the internet without being traced. NordVPN's advanced encryption hides your location and encrypts all your data, whether you're sending or receiving. You'll enjoy a fast and stable connection anywhere in the world, and one account secures 6 devices. NordVPN also allows you to bypass geo-restrictions where content is blocked from certain countries. Try NordVPN risk-free for a 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to nordvpn.com/Sonnen. Use the coupon Sonnen to get a 2-year plan plus 1 additional month with a huge discount. That's nordvpn.com/Sonnen, or click on the link in the description to get this special deal. Same song, different verse, a little bit louder and a little bit worse. You guys recognize that? Do you recognize that? Shoney Carter said that about 20 years ago in an interview. I think he was doing a rematch, and he said, same song, different verse, a little bit louder and a little bit worse. Now, Shoney might have stolen that from somebody else, but I'm stealing it from Shoney. Why? Because Khamzat Chimaev. I'm a broken record over here, guys, but we don't have any new information. I mean, how long have we been on this? 2 months? 2 months of what's next for Chimaev, but it doesn't end there. What's next for any of the 556 athletes under contract who don't have matches is a fair question. It's more interesting, though, for Chimaev. Chimaev has our interest. Moreover, what is the delay? If I could know one of the two, if I could either know what's next for Chimaev and have that piece of inside information, or if I could secretly know what is the delay, I would choose the latter. I want to know what the holdup is. The Khamzat Chimaev experiment is one of the great marketing in the history of sport. Are you ready for that statement? I would challenge you to tell me a marketing plan that worked better, more unintentionally. There was never a plan to make this guy a star. This guy gets brought over to Fight Island. He's jerking the curtain. 2 days later, he gets a call that 3 days after that, he's going to be on the scale, and a total of 6 days after that, he's going to be back in the ring at a different weight class. There was no plan. There was no options. He was a body that was there and was willing. 2 fights, 2 victories, both inside of the first 5 minutes. Neither opponent put a hand on him. 2 different weight classes. And more interesting than that, I want you guys to remember this. His first fight, his UFC debut, was at 185 pounds. Which means with no preparation and having no idea that this opportunity was going to even be there, he went down a weight class. That is a badass move and possibly the greatest part of the Chimaev story. And people always forget that. They always forget that he debuted at 185. He returned to the scale 6 days later, to the cage 7 days later, down a weight class. Look, if I'm over in Fight Island, I am on vacation. The moment that fight is done, whatever room service, I don't go out very much. I like to be in my room, but I will have everything on that room service menu at some point, particularly if I just got done with a fight. He probably did the same thing. He probably filled one of those coconuts we see him having on Instagram and got the straw and is out down by the pool. He was not planning to compete again, yet he did compete again. Oh, by the way, he went down 15 pounds. It is the most interesting thing of the whole story. He comes back. He goes back to 85. He comes back again. He goes back to 170. And now all of a sudden he's delayed. And I always have to give you that reminder, but that's the only reason that this is so interesting. 556 guys are under contract. 450 of those guys don't have their next fight. But we don't say what's next for John. We don't say what's next for Jane. We say what's next for Chimaev, and I just want to know what the delay is, because when Neil Magny inserted himself, that did stop the narrative in its tracks that nobody wanted to fight Chimaev. You can no longer say that, or you would be calling Neil nobody. And Neil Magny is most certainly not a nobody, but then Blahal uses his platform. He takes that same shot. Jeff Neal at some point spoke up. I can't remember what Jeff said or did, but Jeff did speak up, and then he had the big win over Ponzinibbio. He's got the platform. He said the same thing. So now we've got some viable options. But we still don't have a fight. It appears that Gilbert Burns is gaining some traction. But guys, you're the ones that did that. whether it was Blahal, whether it was Magny, whether it was Jeff Neal, they did the same thing that Gilbert did, which is they went to social media and they said, yes, I'll do the fight. Gilbert has done absolutely nothing different, but for some reason, you guys have decided that that's the one. You guys might be right. I'm just reminding you that when you hear this piece and think, Chael, you're a little bit late. Those two are going to fight in April. That's not true. At least that's not set. Those two went to social media and told us all, and they agreed that it's going to be in April. That's not how this works. And if it is Gilbert, by the way, there is one thing we are going to have to revise. The only clue that we have been given by the only opinion who matters, DW, said Chimaev is 4 fights away from fighting for a title. We're well aware that 4 is not 4. If he goes and has 4, he doesn't have a guarantee. If he looks good, 2's close to 4. But 6 is close to 4, right? I mean, what side of that are we going to be on? I did not ever look at that as 4 matches. When I heard Dana say that, my mind went right to, okay, he's talking about 15 months. He's talking about a year and a little bit more. That's what he's talking about, not the actual number of contests. That doesn't mean I'm right. That is my interpretation, that he just thought he needed a little bit more time, not necessarily the experiences. Now, even if I'm lost in translation, if you go in there and you beat Gilbert Burns, what's the difference of fighting for a title? Why wouldn't you? It's the same thing when Colby's name got thrown out there. We cannot adhere to this 15-month business or 4-fight business if somebody gets the jump on Covington. If anybody was to beat Colby, we all quickly will stand back and go, there's your number 1 contender. The only thing that Colby and Kamaru proved to us for sure in that last title fight is we got the right 2 guys. The toughest 2 human beings alive that can tip a scale at 170 pounds are in the cage at MSG. That's what we really found out. We all agree on that? So my only point being, if you beat Colby, there is no another fight and another fight and another fight. You're the guy. But I think that you can make that same argument for Gilbert Burns. Why would Chimaev have to go run through the roster that Gilbert Burns has already ran through? How many top guys do you want Chimaev to have to fight? Because if he beat Burns, who already beat him, right? I mean, this is the way the game is played. Anything that you have is on the table. Anything. You got a world championship, it's up for grabs. That's how combat works. You got great placement on the card. Somebody gets the jump on you. They now have great placement on the card. You got a big fan base. You go beat somebody. The fans come with you. I mean, everything is on the line. So I only bring that to you because I'm very light on the Burns idea. I love the fight. I would love to see it. I'm very light on that idea for the reason that I just stated, which is the only clue that we've been given up for Chimaev is he's about 15 months or 4 contests, however you want to hear that, away from being in there with whoever the champion would be at that time, in this case, Kamaru Usman. I don't think you can go out there and beat Burns and all of a sudden you got to beat 3 other guys. I'm also armed with, and I must disclose for the 4th time in this whole rant, I don't know. There is something we are missing. I want to know, I'm very curious, what the holdup is. Is it a specific opponent? Is there somebody specifically that the UFC wants to see Chimaev in there with? Who would that be and why? Like, what would it matter who the guy is? I mean, if we're fighting ranked guys, it's got to be somebody within the top 10. In fairness, can we put all their names in the hat and just pull one out? Why would there be somebody specific? And I don't have any evidence to put me in that direction other than there is some kind of a delay. That phenomenon I'm right about. A blind man could stand back and see that there's something amiss. I'm not willing to sign off on this Burns business. I know that you guys already have. I'm not willing to do that. I know a couple of reporters have even put their name on that. I don't think they have inside information. I think they talked to Gilbert, hey, you want to do this? I think that they talked to Chimaev, do you want to do this? But you didn't have to ask either. They posted the damn thing out there on social media for us all to see. We know where their minds are at. But Gilbert's position is no stronger and no different than Neal's, than Blahal's, or than Magny's, right? So what is going on with Chimaev? I would rather know that than know who he has next. I would want to know what is the delay, what are the chips, what are the negotiation, where are we at on this? And where you're going to put Chimaev is also very relevant. This guy is a main event fighter. He is a huge draw. He cannot main event a pay-per-view. Pay-per-views are main evented in title fights. He's not going to be in one. So you take a guy who you know for sure is a marquee pay-per-view draw, and you put him on free TV. Get him that exposure, but at least now you have your main event. Those are great problems to have. There will be no conspiracy there, but there's a lot of things you're juggling with this guy. Where in the world are you going to fight him? We love him here in the States. He's loved more in the part of the world where Fight Island is. Again, good problem to have, and it might sound small for you, but there's a few things that need to be considered when you have a guy like this, because these phenomenons come and they go. And as long as that can be nice, bright, and shiny, you want to measure that just correctly. And is a part of the equation a specific opponent? If so, who would it be and why hasn't it been named? That is not in line with the way the UFC generally will do a fight. They will put that idea out there. They'll see how it sits with you guys. They'll see how it sits with the opponents. Everything's great, and 90% of the time it is, off you go. Few percent of the time, you got to make a tweak. It's been very quiet on Chimaev. Chimaev hasn't been quiet, but the idea of who he's going to fight next and why the delay. Guys, as Shoney Carter said, different song, different verse, a little bit louder and a little bit worse.